Man, this tea is hot. Good morning, everyone. Sam Sim in the spot, 5:33 a.m. on July 17, 2017. Just getting ready to start off my day at the office. It's gonna be a long one. And before I even start, look, you guys want to holler at me, you can get at me at samsemantics at gmail.com. That's SAMSEMANTICS at gmail.com. All right. And then I want to give a quick shout out to Sarge Willie Pete, man. SWP did a video yesterday. Actually touched on one of the things that I spoke about when it comes to, women and the nerdy girls. He said even the nerdy girl wants a guy who's masculine and wants the football play. I was geeked out. I was like, yeah, buddy. So big shout out to him. His video was basically in regards to white supremacy controlling patriarchy. And honestly, throughout my life, I would say, especially coming up in the '90s, I noticed that it's been around for a while, and it's not just a target towards black men, although we suffer the most from it. But shit, it's tearing down a lot of lower middle class white societies as well. And I noticed that, I've been noticing that for a while. I actually thought about it when I asked some Filipinos overseas, and I asked them, well, when you think of America, what do you think? And I got two answers. The first answer was a college frat party where you see a bunch of white guys who are like, go Ohio State Bucks, and they're like, go USC, go LSU, and they're getting drunk, drinking beer, they're either in their dorm or at a frat party. And I also got the Ford truck driving guy, the guy who drives his F-150. He has a farm. He's wearing cowboy boots. He has a cowboy hat on. The Marlboro man, pretty much. Okay? So, those lower class and middle class white folks, they're put out there as a representation of what America is, but it's still controlled by the elite. And boy, do black people suffer the most from that shit. But, I'm not the only one who gets on here and kind of goes their lane as far as talking about how the system is ran. But this particular video, I'm going to freestyle it, and it's basically just underlining some of the similarities between the things that black people go through and other races of the lower middle class, in particular white folks. Because, a lot of black people on here, we talk about how, our media, is looked at in a bad, negative way, which it is. The rap videos and the Molly and the Percocets and, niggas popping Adderall and drinking lean and all of this shit. But, we fail to realize in other lower class white communities, they pretty much have the same thing. You got the father and the mother in the house, she's taking pills. And I've seen this on firsthand. She's, taking her medication. The father's taking the medication and selling the medication to his friends at work. And, the house is falling apart. The kid is listening to heavy metal music instead of rock and roll. You go inside of his room, he has Megadeth on the wall, Beavis and Butthead, Wayne's World posters and shit like that. And these guys live in trailer parks, or they live in a lower class community. But the only thing is they're represented in a way where they can kind of feel proud of being in America. They can still vote Republican, even though the Republican Party doesn't give a fuck about them. They only care about the top 2%. And it's just a sad situation. But one thing I was telling this white guy who came up in a lower class community, see the difference between average white folks And black people, we're used to it. We're used to the struggle. We're used to going through the bullshit. So, we can kind of like deal with it. We can adapt to it a little more, even though we don't appreciate it. But when it comes down to this shit, especially now since Donald Trump is in office, you're gonna really see things hit the fan. You're gonna really see. I mean, you saw the pride in Donald Trump winning. You saw a lot of people from these rural areas who live in trailer parks, or these guys who do a lot of hunting in the woods. Especially a lot of guys I know in Louisiana who voted Republican, and they're starting to understand now that it's not really a black and white thing. It has to do more with the funds, you know. And it's sad because their media doesn't portray them in a negative light as much as it does for black people. But oh my God, it is out there. You talk about rap music and just the over exaggeration of popping mollies and just smoking weed and taking all types of drugs. The conversation I had with my white buddy, he basically called it out. He was like, yeah, as far as weed is a light drug in regards to the heavy metal spectrum. As far as like these guys who listen to heavy techno and rave music, I mean, these guys are doing heavy drugs. Some of them are doing heroin. These guys are doing meth, and it's the same circumstances. They're doing all types of experimental drugs that black people would never, ever, ever fuck with. But their circumstances, as far as the economy, as far as them on food stamps, it's the same thing. You never hear about the majority of the white folks who are on food stamps, and not because they're disabled. It's because these people live in a lower economy. I mean, if you don't believe me, go to a overweight white woman's house, who basically is single and she has 3 kids or 2 kids. Some of these kids are even biracial, and she's on Section 8. She receives food stamps and WIC and all of this other shit, but she's still represented in a light. Like I said previously in earlier video, where it comes down to women keeping up their sexy and being a part of that basic American standard. All she has to do is lose that weight and get her sexy back up, and the guys will be chasing after her. Well, minus the kids, but I mean, for the most part, she still has a chance to get in the game. As long as no one knows who she is and her baggage isn't there. But we don't have that in the black community because the majority of the women are ratchet. I had a conversation with a girl at my job. This was Friday, and I didn't really want to say nothing. We got into a little debate. We were still cool after it, but our audience was actually an older white guy. He's about maybe 45 years of age, and he's a cool guy, liberal. Came up in the city, metropolitan area of Columbus, Ohio. Actually, he's from Ohio, from northern Ohio. And there was this middle-aged black woman who was sitting on the side of us listening to our conversation. And of course, they took her side. I tried to just keep it strictly on economics and, just the way a lot of American women were. And she's going to tell me that all American women aren't like this. And, it sounds like you're referring to the black community, in which I was kind of hinting at her like, look, we need to have this conversation alone because there's some things where I can't hold any punches on. And she was pushing me. She was getting me there. She told me that her mother was a doctor and her father was a teacher. So her dad had more time to raise her and her siblings because during the summer he was off from school, and of course his mother made more money. So she has traditional standards, but she is single. As a black woman, she's single. And I could have gotten deeper into why she's single, but I didn't want to really go there, because then we're dealing with like women keeping their sexy up, women who are nice and trim and fit, and she doesn't fit that prototype. And then we got colorism on top of that. That's fucking up the game. And she's just as dark, if not darker than I am. But I mean, I'm the type of person, it doesn't matter how dark they are, because as long as they have their sex game up, their sexiness is on point, then hey, there's no problem. But we're talking about a woman who, she's just overweight. So when you say these things, you talk from a feminist standpoint. You're basically saying that, okay, well, yeah, I understood how it was when my mom was coming up, and it was okay. When I listened to her, I was like, I know exactly how you were raised. I know you came up in an upper middle class society, and yeah, I know that a lot of the guys weren't checking out for you like that. I know that forced you to go to college. Like, yeah, actually, you know, basically like a lot of these guys who talk about how when they were going to high school they weren't getting picked, and their ability to travel was, there for them. They had the opportunities to do that. They had the opportunities to go to school, and now they look back at the community and they're a bit disgusted about it. They avoid the black community, and they tend to speak proper. They tend to have a lot of white and Asian friends and shit like that. So it has a lot to do with the money, man. I mean, these same white guys who live in the lower class communities, or some of the same ones who have black friends. I mean, hence, look at Eminem. Same shit. The only difference is he doesn't listen to heavy metal so much as he does is hip hop. But the same standards are there. When it comes down to the drugs, when it comes down to, receiving welfare and receiving food stamps. I mean, he even said it in one of his raps that food stamps could not pay for Haley's diapers. So let me go ahead and make this video short. I gotta hurry and get out of here, man. Time is running, wow, very fast. So, guys, drive safe. Have a great week. And I'll talk to you guys later. Sam Sim, I'm out. Peace.